And there are things that are very effective, like absorption, assimilation, and elimination, and that's the keywords for the food industry. But what we also see is an increase in frailty and polymorbidity. Many diseases, chronic diseases, are increasing. So the entropy and the frailty of the body system is increasing. With that, you have already ingredients that are consumed, which are medication, polymedication, and automedication. So when you see that picture, and then you look at the food evolution, and you see that food industry is not natural, not going from nature to farm to table anymore, but we have processed food, modified food, bioactive, global food industry, which has been really advancing by adding ingredients. You can see that putting aging and food evolution together is actually complexifying the whole system even more and putting old people and the aging population at high risk of metabolic syndromes, problems that are not solely due to aging, but to the interaction between medication, aging, and food that has been modified. So you do have a responsibility in the food industry to address the food with a consideration on the aging population more specifically, and that's one of my points. The questions to be raised is, what are the potential benefits of the food that the food industry is developing, because there are huge benefits to be found, and it is developing slowly, but there are also negative effects, and negative effects because of accumulation of what you put in the food, of interaction. And for the moment, there have been too little studies monitoring over time what you give too much or too little to old people. Do you match the deficits of old age? How do you address the labels, and you give advice on how much you have to give or not give? It's been done for children, it's been done for pregnant women, but it has not been done for frail old people. So that's one question for the aging. The other questions to be raised: is the food tested on old people's specificity, and not only age specific, but very old age specific, like centenarians, and also the difference between men and women? Has this been tested? That's the first question. And then we know that it has been conducted on old mice, and on active, healthy mice, but not on old mice. Even in the lab, from lab to clinical studies, we know with medication it has not been tested. So the answer there is already no. It has not been tested, and very few food industries have tested their food on old people. So we really do need food and aging biomarkers and more studies in this area, and this is already one of the conclusions, being already not very far in the presentation, which is very important for you. Now, the first part on aging, just to demonstrate to you the aging complexity. Many people have a prejudice on aging, because aging has been seen since the 1950s as a natural decline, negative aging, irreversible degeneration, and this has been the foundation of geriatric medicine, curative and palliative care. But we have seen with progress of science, and especially social and psychological science, that it's not only losses and physiological losses, but there are gains that are possible. You can gain experience, you can be better with time, with cognitive tasks. So positive aging and slow down processes of aging have become the motto of successful aging. And the medical academicians have also taken that in their studies and have proven that you can live long in good health if you do preventive medicine and if you stay active to the end. So today, successful and active aging has been adopted, and we are in 2012 in the European Year of Active Aging and Solidarity Between Generations, which proves to you that today we know that staying active is very important for longevity. What we less know, know less, is that nutrition is fundamental to longevity. And research has proven that, but people have not put the pieces together yet to prove that really nutrition is a medication. It is a medication to heal, but it can also be, and we know this with the obesity pandemic, it can also enhance diseases and cut down longevity. So what has happened after the successful aging big movement is that since 10 years, and very young researchers, and it's a very young movement, if I could say, is that biogerontology and anti-aging medicine, who are trying to find reversal of aging processes and of pathological aging, have combated all the deficits that come with age. And those deficits in the metabolic system can be combated with nutrition, with hormones, with stem cell research, with regeneration. So this new medicine, you can call it longevity medicine, personalized medicine, has shown that in fact the concept of aging is changing today, and that there are hopes and there are molecules and vitamins and ingredients that can actually address the deficits of aging and keep people in very good health for a very long time. You see, the normal picture you get is this one, the classic data of physiology of aging. Everything goes down. All the parameters, it's the decline, and you can't do nothing. And this is really the old image, classic, that many, even geriatricians, have in their minds. But the biotechnology people don't have that image in mind. They say, okay, the curve is going down. How can I address that so the curve stays up? Everybody wants their hormones to stay up, and women know this with hormone replacement therapy. But now the food industry has, with supplements and nutrients and bioactive agents, has the power to put all those indexes and rates up and keep them up. The only maybe problem is they have to deal with bioregulation of the body, and we know that with age this regulation of the body is getting in an entropic system where things are much more frail, so you have to measure much more what you need in your body to address it in a healthy way. And there, in science, we really do need more measurements on what is needed in the body to address it with the food industry, with nutrients, and with other metabolics. So the big question in aging is that aging, first, what is normal in aging? Aging is not a disease, we know that. It has been thought it was a disease. It's a capital of cumulative effects of lifestyle. It occurs at very different rates. It has, now we know more and more, effects of epigenetics. It's not determined by genes with time, and it has been shown in twin studies that genetic determination is slowing down with time, and it's the cultural, social, food, all the lifestyle behavior that are having an effect on the aging health or disease, pathological aging. So the problem here is that the concept of normal aging is a huge debate still today. And we still don't know what nutritional level is good or bad for old age, because we know now more and more that gut health, that absorption is a problem, and we cannot standardize that all this food is good for this person and not. There's more to say, and I will talk about nutrigenomics later, which is a very good model. So normal aging in the past was natural aging, no intervention. But today, this is finished. We have interventions, otherwise we would not have longevity, and a hip replacement is an intervention, medication is an intervention, and food is proven today to be at the basis of metabolic regeneration and degeneration. So you have caloric restriction diet, you have anti-cancer foods, you have a lot of possibilities that have not even been explored to address the aging population. And modified food has multiple interventions, but multiple effects, and this has to be looked at very carefully in the future. I could go through those slides, but you can look at them also on your own. Malnutrition, many studies have been done on that. Cause and effect, I tried to synthesize here from many studies the causes, the higher risks, inadequate diet, but it's not only the disease and acute chronic, it's also the mobility limitations, inability of the functional system to swallow, to eat with the bad teeth, etc. It can also be other factors like isolation, exclusion, people don't want to eat anymore. There's been a very interesting study on the empty fridges, and that was an indicator that people were sick, is empty fridges at home. So you see that the causes can be many and multiple, but the effects are terrible because they really increase the severity of disease. The functional status goes down. It creates hospitalization. there's no symptom of, malnutrition is a symptom, but it certainly is a very precipitating factor in all the healthcare system and in the healthcare costs that we are seeing today. And you can see in the data that malnutrition is chronic. So one example is that drug affects nutritional status of older person is that if you have too many medications, and we know that up to 20 medications are taken in homes of older persons, and nothing is done with the medical interaction with the food, etc. Nothing is done yet, but a lot of research has to be done in old people's home, in their home at home, and to see how the food intake, the metabolism, can deal with old age, how can the absorption get better, also the elimination process, and how can we help all those parameters of gastrointestinal physiology decreasing their efficacy. So there are new things to balance the acid base in the stomach. Gut health is a big word in anti-aging medicine, or this new metabolic medicine. A lot has to be done in matching food with metabolic systems that can accept the food and really make something efficient for the body to be healthy and not make it sicker. I really do have a lot of hope that the food industry can do something. So what do we see if we don't do anything? Well, that's if you don't do anything, and probably don't take it personally, but it can happen to everybody. Old models who have just let themselves, and that is still a case of someone who has a good standard of living. You can have other cases that also have had a very good standard of living and were really icons of the body being healthy, like the person Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you see that even him, with a very high standard life, has changed his body composition, even though the body mass index has not changed. So it's a very bad indicator of health, although food has a lot to do, and activity too. Now you see other models compared to the decline of the body composition, or if you don't do anything, with the anti-aging medicine movement, which I'm sure will talk a lot to a lot of you, you can see new icons of people who really intervene at all levels. And I will show you Bob. And Bob here is an incredible case, and I really like to show him because he was 65 and said, well, my body is declining, and either I commit suicide or I do something about it. At 67, you see his image there, he was already looking a bit better, and he really built himself, becoming a really model of what you can do with your body, with nutrients. Of course, he was taking a cocktail of supplements, made of hormones. He was being very active, but he has shown that it is possible to create an image that you would like, and you'd like until the end of your life. He died last year, and apparently he was 10 years older than what he showed during his years, so he died at 95 years old. So we will never know exactly his age. But he was really an interesting case to show that with your intake, you can really rebuild and address the deficits of your body. And that's what this next slide will show. This new paradigm of the self-made longevity and long life performance and health is going from the decline model of doing not much and not much intervention, natural aging, what they call, to more successful aging with prevention, to, and that's maybe the Bob image, early prevention, intervention, human enhancement, the whole lifelong intervention. You can take as a comparison the image of sports competition. Sportsmen and women love to have their doping. Well, let's consider that as self-doping, lifelong self-doping, through nutrition, bioactive, but also through metabolic, addressing the metabolic deficits at the cellular, hormonal level, endocrinology, but also the food has an enormous importance in keeping people healthy and active their whole life. So how can you, what type of interventions can you do? During a study for the Technological Assessment Switzerland for 3 years, and I published a book in English in 2008, and I still keep on publishing and updating this data, We covered what is anti-aging medicine, what do they do to reverse the aging process and pathological aging. So here I have, and you can go through it on your own, it is really going from brain food to cosmetic food, beauty food, to supplements, to pharma food, to modified food. But what is new also is that you have new methods to address food, like food implants. That will be the future, food regulation through implants. New methods like nutrigenomics, measuring your genome and what you need, and making adapted and personalized nutrition according to your genome profile. Same with immunonutrition, chrononutrition, and many other areas are being developed at the moment, which you can explore and are fascinating, and I really believe will help all of us and the aging population to go better all over the world at lower cost than medication. So this is what you can see, the man of the future, with not only bionic and pacemakers, etc., but with food, with stem cells, with supplements, with all the technological revolution, bionutri, technological transfer to the human. And it is already happening at different paces, depending on which country. So a few words now on food innovation and aging. I will look very quickly at food pyramids and modified food. Are they adapted to old people? That is the big question. In this study I did for technological assessment, I went through all the food pyramids. Are they adapted to old people? And what you see is that people have no consensus on food pyramids. And there's been a big debate between Harvard School and the American government on what is good food pyramids. But what they don't address is what is a good food pyramid for whom. And for old people, they have never really made a specific age-related or very old age-related pyramid. So what I advise is to look at evidence-based food pyramids for old age and for longevity. And maybe the closest to evidence-based would be the Okinawa diet from Japan. Japan has 45,000 centenarians. And this is very near to caloric restriction, one of the most proven effects on longevity and health in all the animals in the lab. So that is Okinawa diet. And the other one is Mediterranean diet, which has also been proven to be linked to longevity. Now we can, there are new strategies to prevent pathological aging, which we could just list caloric restriction I mentioned, but also all the anti-inflammatory diets and nutrients, and all the new techniques of anti-aging, detoxification, gut health, regenerative nutrients. So inflammation is one of the center of addressing chronic diseases, and there is certainly a lot to do to either decrease inflammation or address it in different ways. And I will go through that. You can look at it. Weight loss reduces markers of inflammation, so that's why caloric restriction is very important. Maybe food can address inflammation also with different nutrients that have been proven. So in summary, that inflammation connection is very important, and some supplements that are known, like B12, D, calcium, and others, are there to fix this inflammation. But you need to look at absorption levels and elimination process and gender differences to make sure you address aging the best way possible. So the second part of that biotechnology, the new innovation in nutrition that I want to address, and what I know, you might know more than some of them, but I really picked up in my research, what are they really adapted to older persons? And when you look at the list, non-exhaustive here, of all the progresses in nutrition with food supplements, bioactive food, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical, engineered food, hormonal food, poly pills, fortified food, etc., you wonder, has any of those been tested in the lab on old mice, very old mice, sick mice? Has it been tested for interaction with medication? No. Has it been tested for gender differences? No. There's been some research demonstrating that. So this is something to do. Progresses are great, but the next step is really to address it to specific age groups and gender. The new methods is compounding polypills, implants, and matching body food systems, and I had mentioned that before. So we know one of the important paradigms is that we know that there are prevalence of micronutrient deficiencies by WHO region, and WHO has made big progress in that, but they have not addressed old people. It is mainly young people, pregnant women, that old people have not been addressed when they are the biggest population who would probably need, because they have biggest deficiencies than any other group. So what WHO has done, and you can go and I refer to the Copenhagen Consensus on Micronutrient Development for a vulnerable group, they want to eliminate deficiencies in all regions of the world, reduce all those deficiencies because they know it is increasing diseases. That's what they are not doing, and that's some of the documents, and I refer to that, and they have whole consensus. But when you look at that, you see for children, you see at school, schooling, girls' school, women, reproductive role. So the question there is, where are the older persons who suffer most of multiple nutrient deficits? Even further, if you look at examples of fortified food programs already in place in the world, school children, women, etc., and again, you can ask the same question, where are the older persons? Big markets, huge markets, but not tested and addressed only to some generations. So to finalize, and I still have 5 minutes, is that we have to try and match the systems, the food system, the food industry, and the aging complexity of world population. And I'm not just talking of Europe. It's really a world problem. It's a global health issue that is very neglected at the moment, but it is there to stay. And let me tell you that even developing and in transition countries have huge aging populations, because the life expectancy is only a mean. And with age, for example, you have a whole generation that dies. So old people are there. And they are there, and many are centenarians, even in low-income countries. So one of the things to synthesize a little bit is that when you see nutrition technology development, the question to ask is always, there's a pharmacological interaction, there are supplements who are bioactive and do address problems of aging and age-related diseases and could really heal. It goes through food, it goes through drinks, but in the future we will also have peptides, hormones, and other ingredients that will be addressed because progress in biogerontology is going very fast. Also, what will be addressed, and I have mentioned, is nutritionomics, immunonutrition, gut health, chrononutrition, and many others. And this is a whole picture of how we must think the future to address this population that needs it so much. The TEA expert survey that I conducted showed that, in fact, what works or not in nutrition and in anti-aging medicine, there's absolutely no consensus. There's also a problem of evidence transfer from animals to humans, and there's a lot of ignorance out there, but there's also a lot of knowledge that is scattered. We need to take the knowledge together, put it together, and address things in a comprehensive way. There are also very strong professional differences, and I say often it's like a political party. Some people are progressists and some are very conservative. I'm there, I think, to say this is something we have to move on. It is good for everybody. It combats diseases and chronic problems, and everything can be reversible. There are some strong consensus on the effects of lifestyle, caloric restriction, etc. So there are things to do. Some of the driving factors that we have is practitioners' need, perceived patients' need, and they are driving also, they're in the driving seat, they want that, especially baby boomers. There's good business to do in a win-win situation, and there's exciting potential for very new developments. So maybe this graphic can resume the risks of nutrition, food, and aging. When you do innovation in nutrition, and old people, you see that there's nutrition innovation that can be effective with no side effect. That it can have side effects that have short-term or long-term, and it is not too serious, but because it is effective, but you have to address those side effects. What is more worrying is when it is not effective, and it has side effects, short-term, long-term, and it is really negative. So those two bubbles should be really addressed very carefully in the future to preserve the health of old people. And I think there is a lot of neglect and abuse. It has been underlined by some reports, even in the United Nations. There is neglect because old people are going to die anyway. But in fact, many of them now come in their homes with pills, with vitamins, and this is the new trend of the baby boomers. They will not let things go. So what is to be looked at more carefully is the dosage, the intensity of the drug, of the food, and what is in it. Also the precondition and health profile of the people consuming it. And there really is a lack of age-specific and gender testing that we have to address. So, I mean, for you who are in the industry of food, longevity food is there to stay and has a long life ahead. It has to do with personalized life, personalized medicine, personalized nutrition is on the go, and people will want that, and already have said in the survey they really would like to see that on the shelf. In the study we did some recommendations to parliamentarians on consumer safety and information, and this is very important, is to enhance more information. Also, research knowledge transfer has to be done quicker with good guidelines so everybody can take advantage, and we have really a win-win situation with no danger for either partners. And we do need to work on budgeting more the prevention and health system. Switzerland is very bad at that. They have no budget for prevention. But maybe insurances and health insurances are very interested in nutrition as a health intervention to prevent diseases. And the last slide, before last, is that we have specific recommendations that we did to the European medicines agencies. We could, with the International Association of Gerontology and Geriatrics, that we could do some specific recommendations for nutrition innovation. And I think I said it already. It is to test more in lab, in clinical, to respond to targeted profiles and deficits, and to address chronic diseases also specifically, like osteoporosis. And we know we can reconstruct the bone also with ingredients, to educate also the public about nutritional supplements so that we can all work together to avoid pathology and enhance quality of life of future aging persons, and give the choice to everybody through food to be more dynamic, more efficient, and more beautiful. And I think this, nobody can go against that. And I thank you for your attention. I'm ready for your questions.
Well, thank you to Dr. Stuckelberg for those fascinating insights into food and aging. We're now going to turn to the floor for the question and answer session. So, as I said before, you can still submit questions to Astrid using this question tab on the left-hand side of your window. So, first off, Astrid, thank you again for your insightful presentation. The first question has come in, asks how can industry begin to tap into the growing generation of young consumers that are concerned with aging?
Yeah, thank you, and I'm very happy to answer any question. I think that the first thing is that but we have in age, young age or old age, there is biological age, there is administrative age, and there is the social age, you know, the social life stage. You're a kid, you're an adult, you're an old person. So all those biological aging would require a different approach to food, as we know. The body changes, allergies change, sensitivities to food, and also deficits in the body. So to tackle a young generation to say you're going to age better or you're not going to age like does anti-aging medicine is to say take care of your deficits and take supplements, take nutrients, And this means that if you want to be very scientific, you should really first measure what is the deficit in those young people. If they have iron deficiency, well, produce food with iron. Like I know that in the low-income countries, they're starting to develop rice with iron, like we had iodine with salt. So every deficit can have a response with food. And throughout life, we do go through turmoil with that. And I think that the food industry can really respond, analyze what the population needs, and tackle. They're already doing it with gluten-free and things like that, but there's much more to do. Not only to respond to deficits, but also now more and more to dope the population, like sports people, and keep people high up in their energy level. And for that, you have to develop also another type of marketing, but also another type of psychology of young people. So I think at every age you can really respond. You just have to be very careful that biological age is very relative from one person to the other, from intragenerational, intergenerationally. So I think the food industry has to be much more scientific in its approach to the body and the biological metabolism.
Okay, and this sort of taps into the idea of quantifying your own nutritional deficits, does it?
Yes, absolutely. And the self-quantifying movement is fascinating. I think it will give what is missing today in the food industry, but what people really want. They want to self-quantify where they stand in their health, but also where their future self is going to be. So there's a whole movement in Silicon Valley coming from the Google maniacs and Internet maniacs who want to quantify themselves. They biohack their body with little puces électroniques and SIM cards, and they quantify themselves every day, so what they need, what they biologically, but also what their activities are, what they have eaten, etc. So when you put self-quantifying biomarkers for food, what do they need, and you produce the food they need, you have a whole new window of this generation that is so thirsty of this new technology to respond to their deficits.
Okay. We've had another question in here that asks, given the micronutrient requirements change as we age, is supplementation through food fortification causing disaster by over or under supplementing different age groups?
Yeah, I'm reading the question with you. Yeah. Well, it's exactly the question. Is that with age, as I showed in the presentation, you have an entropy, so people are more and more different. Their requirements is very personalized. So the deficit is also personalized. What they need is personalized. Can we produce personalized food? Can people customize the food they need corresponding to their requirements and what is their deficit? This would be ideal, of course. Because if you don't do that, it's exactly what this question is addressing. You can go to a disaster. And the pharma today industry is realizing that because they have not tested pharma components on old people, on old mice, man, woman differential, we have pharmacodynamics that kill people. And there are reports now of adverse drug reaction. It can look under the internet, adverse drug reaction. Well, you could have adverse food reaction in the future if you don't look at the food industry a bit more carefully, and if they don't take this more seriously, there will be trials. So safe food is also must look at that, and it is quite complicated.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I mean there are some nutrients and ingredients that have been suggested have many and wide-ranging biological effects on aging. For example, things like omega-3s. Do you think that the industry should be focusing on these, so-called big nutrients, or are there other things out there that we could be focusing on as well?
The whole question of on antioxidants, supplements, vitamins, they mix up everything, and I think that it's a bit messy. When I really love going to Vita Food International or to any of those new innovations in food, because you try and make sense of everything that is offered. And in fact, if you go one step back and you look at biological aging, and you see that everybody wants to slow down aging and dope people, well, you need different ingredients for different things in the biological mechanism. So things like resveratrol, in red wine, red berries, green tea, have been extracted and concentrated to put into food, because we know this has effects as antioxidants and will slow down the aging clock. But now there are other things to do, and not only addressing antioxidants, but to addressing deficits. That one of the biggest deficits that we encounter with age is hormone levels go down in everything. And those hormones, as you know, exist in the nature also. And we know that estrogens are going all over the rivers, in the bottles, in plastic things, and it has been demonstrated as a big problem of public health. Well, there is something to do here in food, maybe to use hormones for people who have hormone deficits in the future, in food, in a natural way. I know there are some ingredients like dim or garlic and cruciferous foods have a very big effect on hormone enhancement and on regulation and bioregulation of hormones. So this is very important to develop those natural food extracts and not only go into pharma components. A new futuristic, and some have already got it, is, I would say, peptides, because peptides is not really doing what the others do. What they do is they are helping the expression of the gene, and by that they're doing regeneration. So the whole process today of the future is really going into regeneration. Food for regeneration, food for doping, and food for addressing the deficits. So you see that we could categorize different foods for different functions to keep this population as healthy as possible.
Okay, thank you. And another question come in regarding whey, and asking that given the benefits that whey powders see for muscle builders and sports athletes, do you think that there's an important role for it to play in an aging population as well?
There are interesting questions. I'm not sure there's been research on the aging bodybuilders, because bodybuilders who are using food, proteins, and supplements, and all, the whole cocktail that Bob has used on the photo. Bob is a model of this aging with bodybuilding and food cocktails and supplements and hormones. But I don't know any research that has really demonstrated that aging with bodybuilding is good or not, or at some point, like in people who do sports, intensive sports with doping, we have sudden death syndromes that are unexplainable, and I don't know what the accumulation of that over the years. If you do too much, it's always the same rule. If you do too much, you might deplete your organism and suddenly break. So it is something to do more research into, I would say. Some are more experimented than me to talk about this.
One final question, because I'm aware that we're running quite close on the time. But there seems to be a sort of prejudice against aging people in that there's this almost society's expectations that they will decline as they age. Do you think that that's maybe one of the big problems with battling this aging culture and bringing forward the science in the area?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in this for 20 years, and anti-aging medicine has brought hope, but I'm really shocked that people are shocked at seeing Bob. I'm shocked and I'm happy and thinking this is a great achievement, because we are in a world today where we can reverse totally our image and idea of aging. We have now new models, breaking the record of cycling at 100 years old. Just last week, French guy, Robert Marchand has done 100 kilometers and he's 100 years old, and he said, I'm normal, I just eat naturally, etc. So the prejudice of the population, young, old, against age and old people saying just keep quiet, stay at home is really criminal. But also old people against themselves think, no, now I am old. It's normal that I'm losing my memory. It's normal that I cannot move anymore. Well, no, it's not normal. Because we don't know what is normal aging, but we know that we can do something to gain muscle, gain bones at 80 years old. I mean, research has really proven that very clearly. It is possible. So this prejudice is also something that maybe the food industry can combat, saying, look, this is how you can age, but keep well, active, with the right ingredients, and your body is going to stay healthy its whole life. And the question I see here is how to measure health physically, since the BMI scale isn't reliable or accurate, is exactly the type of thing that today we realize the old way of measuring things is over. Today, it's so important. I mean, the body mass index is important, but it's not the only one. And today, just measuring your body weight, your stomach body weight, or measuring the amount of grease in your body, or your gut health, those are parameters that are new on the market, and I can tell you that not many doctors are doing that, and maybe it will come from the industrial world, I hope, because they are producing devices, for example, to measure gut acid base with digital pills that you swallow, and they can measure if you can really take the food you're eating in, and it can benefit your body. So we see that the holistic system is now working together to make our body machine the best machine possible through what we eat and what we do and what we drink.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for those great insights, Dr. Stuckelberger. I think that we're running quite close to the time now, so I think that we're probably going to have to wrap up the Q&A session there. But I'd just like to say again, thank you so much for taking the time for the presentation and the really interesting question and answer session that we've just had. Just to the audience, the handout for the session will be available through the on-demand player as soon as that's available after the presentation. And I'm going to leave it there and say once again thank you to Astrid.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Age well. And I hope the industry will take the message and do something with that for the old people and for the young.